At 6:05 p.m. on a Thursday, the 4th of April, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot dead while standing on the balcony outside his second-floor room at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. That day was a shock to me and my family. I was sitting on the edge of the Devon in the living room when the news reporter said those actual words. And it felt like there had become a death in the family, that someone had been lost in our family. They shot him dead in '68. It tore us apart. Me so much because I was always there to see him, or he was always there to see me in my hometown of Selma, Alabama. Walking home from school, we had the privilege of seeing SNCC or SCLC or some other of the Panthers walking around in Selma to protect the citizens of Selma. And what happened in my heart was the confusion that I would never see him anymore. He was 38 years old, I think, at the time of 39. And Martin Luther King was not a very tall man. He was stocky. But to be in a room with him was like being in the room with a giant. You had to see it for yourself. In this book, I never made I didn't dedicate it to him because he's all over the book. When you purchase the book and I'm not there, you get an author letter. I'll read you the author's letter, and then I'll read you the story. Myself. Dear reader, I've wanted you to read these stories about my Selma for some time now. And before you begin reading, there are a few things that I want you to know. I want you to know that I am Hyundai, and I still exist. I want you to know that I was a child who grew up in that place, that infamous place called Selma. I want you to know that some of the family and people I talk about are still with us, with me, and others have passed on. I want you to know that I wrote about many of the things that I love about Selma, how it smelled, how it used to sound, how it hummed at night when I was sleeping, how it made me feel. I want you to know that my family had a farm and crops and cows and barns and a blue car and a home, a decent home, and that I had a brother and sisters and cousins, and we went to church and sang songs and prayed. I want you to know I had a brave and wonderful mama and a wonderful, brave dad, and they worked and protected us, and we played and did things that most any children do, but there were many things we weren't allowed to do as Black children in a white-run town filled with so much bitterness, division, hate, and violence. I want you to know that I was and still am a Black and proud Negro female, and I have overcome some of the things that some white people did to us in Selma. I want you to know this too. I want you to know that it was not all white people who abused Negroes in Selma. Don't forget that. I want you to know that I fought for your civil rights while fighting for my own. I was young, and maybe you were not born yet, but that doesn't matter, because all of us who fought, who were frightened, who were hurt, who died, who stood on unmoving voter registration lines in the hot sun and sat down at segregated lunch counters while being insulted and spat on, who were locked up in jail, who manned the phones and ran errands, who organized our protests, who prayed for and preached to us protesters, all of us who did what we did it all for you, and here you are. I write the stories to remind you of a past so that you will watch over and take care of the future. Dear reader, it is my pleasure to meet you in sharing my stories.